This video is going to answer some questions that I get when I say that I do precision tactical obedience. What is tactical obedience? Generally, people think of the tactical as applying to military dogs and to police dogs, probably, that it's used in settings of conflict. That's one part of it. Yes, that's one part. And I have worked with police dogs and war dogs, actually strictly war dogs, which is very different than what most people have done. They're not trained in protection as like a sport dog at all. I'm not going to go into that right here, but what is precision obedience? Now, some people use that term, and a lot of people consider that having to do with competition obedience, such as obedience in AKC or the UKC or the CKC or Mondio Ring. There's just a Mondio Ring obedience, or part of the Schutzhund or the IGP, as being a very stylized, highly characteristic obedience. Also, there are obviously obedience parts in agility and freestyle and herding, actually, also and sled dogs. Now, one of the things I want to say right away is that unlike most people who are in the dog training field, I have been an animal trainer. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology, and I went through a lot of behavior modification courses and did Skinnerian learning and taught rats and cats in that university setting. Now, that's a very rigorous undertaking, and it's not a hackneyed version like you'll find most dog trainers that don't know what they're talking about specifically. They make a lot of errors when they talk about operant or respondent training. I know that inside and out. So that brings to it an obedience sort of training that many people aspire to. But in the sense of most dog trainers, as it were, are not animal trainers. And they also get stuck in their niche. Like if they deal with agility, they don't talk to sled dog people. They don't deal with protection dogs. In fact, it really goes against their ideology, because they're trying to use only one fraction of the training spectrum, and it can't be done. There's certain things that these people who claim that they use only one approach, there's things that they can't do with that one approach. A lot of them just want to shut you out, and they don't want to face that reality. And so what I'm getting to is that with precision obedience and tactical, I bring in everything. I'm not closed-minded. What we do is we take parts of things everywhere. And let me say that there is a lot of things in obedience that are sport-oriented, and those are arbitrary decisions. Like the dog must heel on the left side is generally where the heeling is on the left side only, and that stemmed from hunting dogs, sporting dogs. Originally, the people were carrying the shotgun or the gun on the right-hand side, so the dog was on the left, not to get his head blown off, basically. And there's no reason for that. There's some sort of chauvinistic idea that the left is better, and there are some competitions where they also have to go on the right side. But tactically, dealing with military dogs, are tactical in my meaning means functional, and it's functional in real life. So tactical is functional. So we want healing on the left, on the right, and in the center. And then we can also do that reverse, so that the dog is actually capable of not just facing the same way we're facing, but facing the other way, backing up as we go forward, or going forward as we back up. These are very important because this is a real world application. If you're on ships, confined areas, military, of course, and that situation, you need a dog that can handle not just being on the left, but can switch between all those, between the left, the right, and the center at a signal. So that's one of the things that differs, and we're not constrained with. One of the things that I have done is I have gleaned information from many different places. I gleaned them from people who were World War II dog trainers. One of my mentors, my early mentor when I was very young, was well-known, a movie trainer, trained more dogs than probably anyone I've ever known. And this is before internet, trying to say you train dogs via Zoom or something. He trained 40,000 dogs. So his system was applicable. He really was a genius because he did something that worked for all dogs, and also he was very structured, which most people aren't. Like this week he's going to be here, that week he's going to be here. Most people are not. That structure is very important, especially when you have to create results. Something I've tried to stick to since those days, way back. And from that, though, I was always learning from sled dog trainers, from hunting dog, sporting dog trainers. And moving on, now we have so many different sports. I'm not really interested in a lot of sports. Dock diving is, there's interesting things with dock diving. Agility, it's very stylized, and people who do agility just seemingly get stuck in agility, and it's basically border collies, which I remember Leslie Nelson, who said, if you're a real dog trainer, you can handle the harder dogs to train. And she took Afghan Hound to a utility dog title. That's an incredible achievement as a trainer, because most people say that those dogs can never be that obedient. And there's a difference between intelligence and obedience. And actually, it was certain things we trained the dogs to be intelligently disobedient. But I will not explain that in this video. I just want to go over the what and the why of precision tactical healing. Now, first and foremost, it's functional. We're not constrained, like I said, by sports ideas. We can do, as Captain Haggerty said, famous World War II canine dog trainer and commander, and also a movie trick trainer who went on to be a stuntman. And we want to try to communicate in as many ways to the dog as we possibly can. And that's what we're trying to do. We're not limited to some bizarre idea of what the hand signals could be. Canines are nonverbal. That's the strongest way to train them. So why are we trying to do things voice, and why are you trying to do them in your maternal language? That's confusing. And I have another video on that, on signals. So signal clarity is something that's very big. So I use whistles in all different ranges of whistles at different frequencies. I have a proprietary phonetically sound signal system, and I use nonverbal as much as possible, and I put them together. I layer them, as Haggerty said. That's a very important thing to do. And what I've also done is I've taken things from learning from different places, because like I said, most people get stuck in their niche. They don't look outside that to learn from other people. It's that closed-mindedness that you find with people who are ideologically constrained with a certain idea of how they should train, or also just certain breeds. People become very, very good at one breed, but that doesn't apply to other breeds. That's what Leslie Nelson was saying, that if you're really a good trainer, you can train the hard-to-train dogs. And I think back to Winifred Strickland. I think still has the most titles of anyone in AKC. She has died, but she trained German Shepherds, and probably no one will ever match how many. I think she's over 200 titles in obedience with her German Shepherds. She knew how to train German Shepherds. So there are people who definitely gravitate towards certain types of dogs, like I'm saying, the herding dogs, because of their artificial breeding. The genetics become listening to you. They don't think on their own as much as, say, an Arctic sled dog must. So they're more independent. So are the village Pariah jungle dogs, which I've worked with. I love those dogs. They are very true to what a real canine is. They're not an artificial canine. That's another talk, though, however. So the precision obedience is having really good control with your signals, having the dog respond under distractions, heavy distractions, when it's necessary. One of the things that I feel is necessary is a recall that is reliable, that'll happen. If you're really good, you can recall a greyhound or a Saluki or an Afghan off of a rabbit. That takes a hell of a lot of training and a hell of a lot of skill, and it won't work. And you need to be able to use a lot of different methods to make that happen. But this can save a dog's life. Same thing with the what's called the drop on recall. The dog is moving forward, could be trying to cross into traffic without knowing it, and the dog must be able to immediately hit the ground and stay there. Those two things, I think, are applicable to any dog, no matter where the dog could be living or what your goals are. This is a real world, a functional skill. Those two skills are very functional. Now, when you get into something like the heads up, stargazing, healing with when the nose snout is up like this, that IGP has borrowed from horses. Some horse trainers went into Schutzhund and they started bringing this in, and now everybody thinks this is the way to do it. And you find people who are watching YouTube and they try to get their dogs to do this too. It's not a real world thing. This is not tactical. This is not functional because the dog cannot see where he's going really well at all. And this is not something you're going to do for 500 meters. It's just not going to happen, and more. So like I'm saying, we take in precision. We take in things that people are using in agility. We take in things that people are doing in freestyle, probably really realistically the best trainers because of the behavior chains right now are in freestyle, although they don't know anything about biting and protection. That's a different realm. And so are sled dogs and also the hunting dogs. These are all various different fields, and few people merge them. They stay in their own lane because they really don't know what to do when they go in the other lane, and they have a cognitive dissonance because the methods you might need to use in protection sports, especially when you have to get a defensive dog that's going to be actually used in reality, are far away from these trick trainers. There's also trick training, which I think is, trick training is good, but to get stuck on it only, I can always make those trick trainers just blow apart because they're so stuck on just this positive reinforcement only and negative punishment. I have a video that explains all that, by the way. It's not going to work for protection dogs. It's not going to work for hunting dogs. It's not going to work for rattlesnake, snake, or cobra avoidance, for example. Those methods won't work. So there are things that I see fad just a little bit of people who are pseudo service dog trainers and really people who work for pet chains as dog trainers. They're not the level I'm talking about here. What we're talking about with precision obedience is a higher level, and it's functional, and it also brings in things from a myriad of sources. So I'm very eclectic and syncretic, if you can look those words up. And that is something that you don't find much of. And those of us who did real military dogs at some point have to be functional and be realistic. Now, a lot of people don't delve into some of the other parts of obedience because they feel it's not necessary. Same thing with hunting dogs. But I do it as a flair thing. I think some of the trick training is applicable. It gets people to notice. It's also something else you can bond with your dog with. So there are parts of all these different areas that go into precision tactical obedience. And this is what is necessary for a pet dog. Even now, I don't have to do as many different things with a pet dog. I mean, everyone's goals are different, how much they want their dog to be able to do. And of course, there is a genetic limitation. You're not going to make a basset hound a sled dog at all. You're not going to make a dachshund able to do the ring sport jumps. It's not going to happen. Those are structural limitations, and that's something you have to look at, as Dr. Coppinger has said many times in the past. So you have to look at that. Now, that's something that we do. We don't try to make the dog do something that he's not structurally capable of doing. But this is what is the precision tactical obedience, and the why of it is because it's functional and because I am not looking at doing only at a sport. Now, if you want me to help you train with sports, I have consulted with ITP people in the past, and I did AKC obedience a long time ago, back in the 70s. It's vastly changed. AKC is vastly changed. I'm really not interested in any of that, but I will help people. I find that the arbitrary rules are there. Why, number one, and I want real world applications, and I want a dog that can do more than just this limited pattern, which most of those things become pattern training. And the good trainers just train for the competition. We want a dog that's flexible and fluid enough to adapt to different situations, can perform in the snow, the mud, on the beach, in the heat, inside, outside, in a warehouse, in a factory. Yeah, any of these places, the dog must be able to perform, and not just in a setting that's very contrived and that's practiced for. So then that very much goes for agility trainers. It's a very, very contrived setting. It's contrived completely. Most all of these competitions are very contrived, actually. So the Schutzhund searching through the blinds is very contrived. It's a good skill. Nothing wrong with people want to do it, but does it apply to your real world? Not really at all. And so that is the definition then of what is, and the why is because I want to create dogs that are fluid, that can adapt, and that are able to be functional in the real world. So that is what precision tactical obedience is about. Yes, I do military dogs, and that is real war dogs, and you'll have to talk to me in person about what real war dogs are. And I will hopefully see you available for workshops. There's more information on this website, and I'll be putting out more. But this is probably the first time you've ever been told what is the definition of precision tactical obedience and why, because it's functional. Okay, so Christophe Clugston here for my Deep Dog Bond method and also Canine Legion. And I'll talk to you guys later, okay? So everybody have fun with their dogs, all right? Because it's all about the dog.